Well, I never thought I would be so interested in Ireland. It's a small country, half a world away, barely 5 million souls. Of course, there are many Irish people in North America, but I never thought I would go to Ireland itself. I went to the UK quite a bit to follow the case of Tommy Robinson. He's actually half Irish, but he, of course, is affiliated with all things British. He even started something called the English Defence League. So really, I had no knowledge about anything going on the Emerald Isle until I started paying attention to some of the most extreme immigration policies I've seen anywhere in the world. And I know Canada is out of control, but they do something really weird in Ireland that I've never seen anywhere else. They just announce, without consultation, that they're going to take over a town or a village. And for example, in the little town, the village of Dundrum, 175 souls, the government just announced they have done a deal with a local hotel to shut it down as a hotel and turn it into a refugee camp. 280 refugees in a village of 175 people, just announcing it, fait accompli, ta-da, no consultation, no compromise, no planning or zoning rules, just absolutely astonishing. It's almost as if it's designed to irritate and undermine local sovereignty, local will. I mean, in the case of Dundrum, that tiny village, more than doubling the population, a village with centuries of history, just absolutely incredible to me. So I've been to Ireland twice now, and I hope to go back, but it is a long journey. And of course, my main duties are here in Canada, which is what we cover mainly. But I'm lucky enough to have made some friends with one of the most important independent media companies in Ireland called Gript, Gript. And you can follow them on their website, gript.ie. And I really like their style. I would say they're a little bit more calm and a little less antagonistic than Rebel News. And I think that's their secret sauce, is they found the sweet spot where they can challenge authority and challenge the establishment, but still be polite enough company that they get into the press gallery, that they get into press conferences and put questions to cabinet ministers. Let me start. We're about to have a great catch-up chat with Fatima Gunning, one of their reporters. But since I've mentioned the village of Dundrum, let me show you a 3-minute video, an exchange between another Gript reporter called Ben Scallon and a cabinet minister of the Irish government about this little village of Dundrum. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk to Fatima about that and all things Irish. Here, take a look.
Minister, we've heard that there's the village of Dundrum in County Tipperary, where the population of the town is about 165 people, and there are plans to move more asylum seekers than the local population. Do you understand why some locals would say that's just an absurd situation and that this situation is out of control?
Well, first of all, I haven't heard about that particular instance, but I do know that Minister O'Gorman's department does communicate and consult with local communities, and I'm sure that work is ongoing as we speak at the minute. I'm not familiar with that particular case.
But in general, would you say that it's sustainable that we do have villages around the country, not just Dundrum, but other places where the government is talking about or has moved more asylum seekers into the local area than there are locals, such as in Lisdoon, Varna and other places like that?
Well, can I just say that in the majority of cases where people come into an area,
CCTV is in operation at this station. Call CCTV Divine Social Show.
Sorry,
keep us all
that.
on our toes, I suppose.
In many cases where people have moved into an area, the locals are there and they welcome them and they integrate in, and I've seen that on many occasions myself. For example,
I'm sorry, Minister, but that's not really the question. I mean, of course that's true. That's a separate issue to what I'm asking about, which is, again, the volume of asylum seekers that are being moved specifically into some rural areas. Obviously, as the Minister for Rural Development, if there's a large influx of people to a very small town, is that sustainable long term, is what I'm asking you. Do you understand why some people would have concerns about that?
Yeah, well, I do understand that people have concerns, but I can give you one very good example, and Lisdoon Varna is a very good example. I've been down there a number of times myself. There was a lot of people moved into that area and they have integrated exceptionally well. They're working in the local community, they're working in the local community centre. I've been to visit them myself, and that's a town where it has made a difference. In fact, there were plans to move some Ukrainians out of a particular area into another area, and I actually got calls from local people saying, please don't move them. These people are making a contribution. So I think there's concerns initially, and I understand why people have concerns. But when they get to know the people and they can see that they're making a contribution and they want to make a contribution in this country, I think that's what we need to do. And they can see the difference on the ground. So it's important that we don't have preconceived ideas about who's coming into our country. A lot of these people are very genuine, honest people. They want to be here, they want to contribute, they want to work.
Well, that's Gript's Ben Scallon asking Heather Humphreys about the little town of Dundrum that's about to have its population more than doubled. She says basically, look, the Irish way is to be hospitable and welcoming. And she says that it has worked in other cases. She refers to the Ukrainians. Ireland took an incredible 100,000 Ukrainians at the beginning of the war. And just to put that in scale, that would be like 1 million Ukrainians coming to Canada. Just an enormous amount. But there were some cultural and economic compatibilities. Some of them spoke English. They're Christian. They have a certain economic and skills background. And it is true. I found many Irish people were positive about Ukrainians. But what's being planned for Dundrum and Coolock and other places is not for these families brought over from Ukraine who could genuinely be called refugees, but rather asylum seekers, almost all the military-aged men from places like Somalia or Nigeria or places where there's really very little cultural compatibility, no economic compatibility, very little English skills. And I think that minister was conflating the two. In the end, I don't think she answered the question at all. How do you feel about putting 280 migrants in a town of 175? Very interesting days, but let us now talk to our friend Fatima Gunning, a colleague of Ben Scallon's at Gript. Fatima, great to see you again. I had the pleasure of bumping into you when I was in Ireland last time. There's so much going on. Why don't you sort of do a scan of the country for us? I just wanted to show that video from Ben because it was about the very village that I myself had visited. Tell me what's cooking in terms of immigration, crime, other issues that are causing Ireland to convulse.
Well, I suppose even though, as I said before, the vast majority of Irish people surveyed said that they think that the government has taken in far too many refugees and asylum seekers, the government is going ahead and essentially leaving the situation as it is. I mean, you'll see Minister for Justice Helen McEntee do things like she'll add countries to this safe country list, which is supposed to mean that people coming there seeking asylum have their applications expedited because, you know, if you're coming from somewhere like South Africa where there's no war, you're probably less likely to actually be a victim of some kind of persecution. So she'll do things like that. And, you know, skeptics might say that is in some way to placate the public, but then you'll see figures coming out, like, for example, compared to this time last year, there's been a 96% increase in the number of asylum seekers coming to Ireland. So despite these kind of, you know, token moves to make it more difficult or to speed up processing times, implement deportations, the numbers we see coming are getting bigger and they're getting substantially bigger. So you kind of have to ask yourself if what the government is doing is actually making any difference. And I suppose just to the point, Social Protection Minister Heather Humphreys saying, she's insisting there that Minister for Integration, Roderick O'Gorman, that he does communicate with locals when setting up these asylum seeker accommodation facilities. I have spoken, Ben has spoken, anyone at Gript has spoken to a lot of people in Wicklow, in Tipperary, where that is, in just county after county after county, who say that they were not in fact consulted. Usually, in a lot of cases, what happens is, and I think this was also the case in Coolock, also in the nearby area of Santry, is that contracts will go out for catering, let's say, or for some kind of works that they need to improve the facility. And through those contracts, word will slip out that, oh, there's some movement going on here. Why are they suddenly renovating this derelict building? And that's how people find out that there's an asylum seeker proposed. It's not because the government are being transparent.
It's the most astonishing thing I've ever seen. If you want to build a skyscraper, if you want to build a mall, if you want to build a parking lot, in every country in the Western world, there's some municipal planning. What will it do for traffic? What will it do for safety? What will it do for congestion? Do we have enough resources? If we're moving a bunch of people here, do we have enough doctors? There's so much planning, and this whole field of municipal law and zoning has grown around how you handle building new things. And the idea that you would just plunk 280 people in a village of 175 with no planning, no notice. When I was down in Dundrum, the owner of the hotel that had done the deal with the government sped by in his car. He's never spoken to the public at all. He's never done a media interview at all. The contract he has is a secret. It's never been revealed. He has attended no town hall meetings. Normally when there's a developer of a shopping center or a project, they go to a town hall and basically get pummeled with questions for hours, and they make a bunch of promises to get back to the people. None of that has happened here. And it's all a secret, and it's being issued from the very top down. I have never seen anything like it in any country in the world where I've been following mass immigration. Ireland is unique in how rough they are with their own people. I don't understand that, Fatima, because in my mind, Irish are rebellious, they're independent spirited. There's that nickname, the Fighting Irish. Like, the Irish are a stiff-necked people. And here you have governments basically say, be submissive. Your job is to agree. They're not consultations. They're one-way edicts. I've just never seen anything like that anywhere in the world, Fatima.
Right. And then the government is saying continuously that people don't have a right to veto who comes into their neighbourhood. So they're saying that, we have Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald, who up until 5 minutes ago was basically in lockstep with the government. She's the leader of the opposition party, although you probably need to do a bit of reading to figure that out if you look at their policies. She has said that there needs to be more consultation, but that people don't have a veto. So it's basically like, okay, we'll tell you what we're going to do, and you don't have a right to say no. So I don't know, we're going to tell you what we're going to do, and you're just going to accept it. So I don't really understand why that's a consultation. If you look at people trying to build housing estates or whatever, you do have the right to object. And then if the council finds in your favor, if the council accepts your concerns about that planning application, that will be turned down, and it can be turned down multiple times, even if the proposed developer appeals it. So this is obviously not the case with these asylum seekers. So I don't really understand how it is a consultation at all.
Yeah, it's just incredible to me.